which is to review excerpts of a book written by the speaker today, and it's written by Otieno Paul Peter. The book is Live Your Dream. Many of you have interacted with him in this city and across this country. He's a motivational speaker. He's an author, and he comes from a background of physics. Can you imagine somebody doing a degree in physics, then morphing into IT? He supplies computers and peripherals. He can help you network with your computers, create local area networks, wide area networks. He can give you a domain name. This is an amazing man who has walked the journey, who is living his dream. He is here today to talk to us about a small section of that book, which is dealing with mental fortitude and time management. Now, in order for me to get some feedback from you before we begin to read the book, I can see my friend Chesubire in the audience. Oh, how are you, Chesubire? Okay, she doesn't seem to be.
Terry, I'm fine. I'm on the road, but I'm fine.
It's wonderful to see you here.
Thank you.
And let me not hijack you with a question, but
just ask. I know you want to ask.
I want to ask you, what are you expecting from today?
I am an open book. I've recently learned not to have expectations, rather to come with expectancy. So I'm expectant to learn.
So what are you expecting? Are you expecting a child? What is it?
I have no expectations, Dr. I am just expectant to learn. It's a learning opportunity. Watch and solve. I recently did a course that taught me chenye unafikirianga haikuangi ukweli. Nimejiweka kando.
Okay. Thank you. So
Yes.
I think Chesubire has sort of captured the mood of our audience today, which is that whatever will come out of this thing will be good. And so let us have an open mind, and let us begin to read. To begin to read excerpt. I don't know if Otieno Paul Peter,
Dr. Eda can read for us.
Yeah, Dr. Eda can read for us.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr.
Okay, page 167 to 168. Where to start? Do not wait for the best time to start. By now, you are already late. You ought to have started when you were born. As I'm told, Winston Churchill once said, time is always ripe to do what is right. Start now the way you are, where you are. You are never too young to start. Neither are you too old to get started, too stupid, too clever, too short, too tall. Nothing. Do not wait till the next morning, next season, next salary advance, next Olympic Games, whatever. Whatever you can do today, do it today. I have this policy. Let tomorrow come to find you doing the work you are supposed to do. But do not postpone anything you can do now for another time or another day. Go right ahead with the right attitude and get going. Time keeps moving and you do not know about tomorrow. Once you lose today, it is gone. This is a painful truth. Right now, as you are reading this chapter, You're already much older than when you started. If you want to know how quickly time expires, look at a stopwatch displaying how microseconds run. That is how fast you are growing older, if not wiser. But would it help if you are a wise but an inactive person? Instead of time management talks, I talk about personal management. That is because no one has a say about time. It simply moves whether you like it or not. Whether you are sleeping, walking, waiting, dead or alive. Time waits for no one, whether president, preacher, rich, poor, clever, wise or stupid. It does not matter. Learn to cope with the time and manage yourself well, making better use of the time allocated to you. Just like everyone else is allocated 24 hours a day, no one can borrow your time that went unspent, and neither can you. Here is another thing I find worthwhile. Be tough, be aggressive. Life does not support the weak. All weak things die prematurely. Check around and become a good student of nature. Weak sperm die without fertilizing the egg. Weak seedlings are removed to give room for strong ones to grow. Weak athletes are gotten rid of. That is life. They call it the selection process. If you ever heard of the concentration camps, you must have learned this principle. So you better be strong, be tough, both physically and mentally, but more so mentally, and start now if you had not. Do not expect anything for free. Life is tough, and that is why someone said, survival for the fittest, which to me means the fit and the fitter do not survive. It's only the fittest. You better be one of the fittest, and you can be. And with that, I come to the end.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eda, for reading that so well. Perhaps at this stage, I will ask each of you if you have any comments to type them in the chat, and we will be asking for your verbal feedback in a short while. But I'll now hand over to Otieno Paul Peter to kind of break down this for us in a nutshell. Over to you, Otieno Paul Peter.
Thanks, Melvin, Dr. Melvin. Good to have you, and good to know you. Thank you, Dr. Eda. That was wonderful reading. Yeah, I always say there are only two people I've discovered know how to read very, very well. That inspired me, Dr. Eda and Nashami, who did it last week. Hey, you people went to school. Some of us, I think, yeah. So, two things in this. One is about time. And this is a sad reality that, you know, many of us don't imagine the end of our lives. I think in the Bible it said, teach us to number our days that we may gain wisdom. And that's where wisdom is. That the moment we discover how precious every moment we have is, then we will make the most use of it. Yeah, whether it's a time you're spending with a friend, a time you're spending with family, a time you're investing, because every time is an investment. One thing I learned and I've really appreciated is that we cannot make use of any other person's time. We can always only use our own time. And whether somebody wastes his or her time, you cannot borrow that particular time. A few times when I'm giving a talk about time, I love to ask people in the audience, how many hours did you have yesterday? Welcome, Nancy Mora. How many hours did you have yesterday?
Thank you. 24 hours.
Oh, thank you. Great. Noel, how many hours did you have yesterday?
Good morning.
Noel.
I had 24 hours.
Good. So it appears all of you, or a good number of you, had 24 hours. Muridi Anthony, how many hours did you have yesterday?
Thank you, PP. Sorry, unmuting Manenos. Yesterday I had 24 hours.
Okay. you know, you'll be surprised. Enough times I've been told different things. Somebody says 2 hours, somebody says 4 hours, somebody says 7 hours, others say 12 hours. So I wonder where the difference comes in. But the truth is, all of us, sick, old, young, hungry, or whatever, everyone has just 24 hours. And there is nothing much you can do to reduce them or to add them. You cannot borrow somebody else's time. Yeah, you cannot extend them. There is no any other way. If it reaches midnight, it's the end of the story. There is nothing much we can do about that. So usually what makes the difference is what we do within those hours. And this does not necessarily mean that we become workaholic. That is another problem. We may stop, we may forget to live, but just trying to do this. You will wake up, raise up your head to realize that you never lived. Actually, you are always in the field working. So the question is, how do we budget? How do we make proper use of our time to the extent that we see much value in them? I remember very first times people would we would be taught that, you know, if you take 8 hours to sleep, it is claimed that you should sleep for about 8 hours. I really don't think that is the actual thing, but it depends. Robin Sharma says it is the quality, not the quantity of sleep. Some people will take the 8 hours, but enough of them were troubled hours. They don't sleep. And I've discovered that if you are not tired enough, if you do not work enough, you will not be able to sleep. You will still miss sleeping. So suppose you took 8 hours to sleep, and maybe some other 8 hours, if you are in employment, to go to where you are working and do whatever you are supposed to do. Many people cannot account for the extra 8 hours in the 24. You see, if you are self-employed like some of us, you may realize that this is where people start having that problem of I'm my own boss. You can always sleep as much as you want and play as much as you want, only to realize that you've not put in a lot of value in the hours that you've got. And so what makes the difference is the value that we put in the hours. The value is determined by the activities, what we do. So if we do nothing, we end up with nothing. If we do something, we end up with something. So what is your routine? I think a couple of weeks ago we were discussing this. I don't know whether it was here or in a different forum. What is your routine? You can always create a healthy routine to help you have a more useful investment into your time during the day so that you can account for it. Another aspect there is procrastination. I can assure you, I've dealt with very many people. I've dealt with very many people, and many of them have also realized that have a lot of procrastination. They know, you see, like sometimes I help people even to start their businesses. And somebody tells you now, I'm going to provide this information today. By end of today, it's not there. Brings in some excuse. Oh, today I went to school and what, I was taking care of children. So tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then Monday. And by the end of the day, you realize that a month is gone, 2 months, 3 months have gone. And you even forget where you stopped. Because we always want to do something else. We want to look for a reason not to do what we are supposed to do. There is a book that was written by Brian Tracy. It's called Eat That Frog. Eat That Frog. Yeah, and there he tells people, he shares with people some strategies that can help you in your procrastination. Yeah, so and he says that you always need to start with the ugliest frog so that it doesn't sit there waiting for you all day long. Yeah, the one that you fear doing the most, that's what you need to start with. Yeah, and what is most important for you, do it. What is it that's going to make the biggest difference? Do it. Yeah, in your priority list. Yeah, so this idea of procrastination can really kill our dreams, can really kill our senses. And by the way, if you do not become productive, you will always feel down. You will feel negative about life because you feel bad for yourself. You even feel sorry for yourself for the things you've not done. But if you are being productive and you are doing all that you can do, you will always feel active. You will feel positive with everything that you do. I remember this story of Moses and Pharaoh about frogs when the Israelites were supposed to leave and Pharaoh refused to release them. And then there is but there are frogs that are sent to them, jumping everywhere, and now Pharaoh cannot handle them. And so he calls Moses. Moses, will you please come and take your frogs away? Yeah, let them go. And then Moses asks, when do you want me to do this? When do you want the frogs to get lost? And then Pharaoh looks at it and says, tomorrow. The big story there is, in other words, Pharaoh said, let me just sit with them one more day, yeah, so that you can deal with them tomorrow. We are not a people of right now. We are not a people of even now. Let's do it. No, no, no. We want to always look for another sweet time to do it. And so that kills our productivity. So like it's been said there, if we look at the clock tickling, the clock moving, you realize that I love using the stopwatch. The moment you set stopwatch for those runners, always realize that they always finish older. Every day you finish older than you started. The question is, what value did you have for your life? So let's not have an excuse. We are not too old. We are not too young. It's always in the mind, determination. And that is now where we talk about the mental toughness. If we've not toughened our minds, we don't have a chance. That's the truth. People will take advantage of you and everything else will not go the way you want it. Mental toughness in this case, and this is the way I started talking about it when I started meditating upon it, that it is this ability to stick to what is supposed to be done, what you are supposed to be, not the situation, not the circumstances. Here is a good example. Peter sees Jesus walking on water. And then Peter is excited about it and tells him, Lord, if it is really you, then let me come to you. Peter also wants to walk on water. He's got a dream. But then he's told, come. He starts going, but then for lack of mental toughness, for lack of focus, he starts looking aside and gets threatened. When we are mentally charged and mentally tough, we will not look at the side shows. We will not look at the things that distract us and give us fear and give us discouragement, we will stick to the game. We will stick to what we went out to look for. You see, because the world as it is wasn't designed for the weak. You look around, that's the way it is. If you choose the weak side, you will always be the prey. Yeah, they say that in Africa, when a lion wakes up, it's got to run faster than the slowest deer. Otherwise, it will go hungry. When a deer wakes up, it's got to run faster than the fastest lion, or it will be eaten up. So whichever side you are, when you wake up, you better start running. Otherwise, something wrong is going to happen to you. So we've got to be these people who are tough. We build our mental toughness, and this one comes with physical toughness. We've got to be in healthy bodies, staying in healthy physical shape. And in that case, we also build our mental toughness. We build our emotional toughness. We build our spiritual toughness so that we are not the weakling, because that would make us prey. And that is the way life is designed. So we've got to be these people who can focus on that which we chose to do, and we are not distracted. That is what students need in order to pass exam. That is what people need in order to grow in their career. That's what business people need. And more so if you're in business, life can be really tough if you are not mentally tough. Because when you are mentally tough, you will focus on what you are supposed to do. You will be in charge of your emotions. You will notice when you are thinking negative and bring yourself back and focus on that which you are supposed to focus on. You will still be able to do your routine despite to what is happening around you. So that idea of toughness, if we lack it, then having dreams will not be anything meaningful. We must grow in our dreams through being mentally tough and focusing on them. Yes, in brief, that is what we can talk about for now. Yes, moderator for the day, Melvin.
Thank you, Otieno Paul Peter. Perhaps at this stage, I'll ask Catherine Kiriba. Catherine, are you there?
Yes,
Please
I'm here.
unmute. Please unmute. I'm reminded that we have not prayed, and maybe that is why Odhiambo Olale is having network issues. Could you kindly pray for us?
Yes, let me do that, Melvin, and good morning, everyone. I'll keep it short because you're at the center of the discussion. So let's believe and pray. Dear Lord, we come before you this morning. We want to thank you for everything that you have done. We are grateful that we've been able to see this new day today, to be able to have an impact into the world. As we continue with our discussions, we ask you to be with us. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Okay, I can give my contribution.
Exactly, Catherine.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, everybody, and good morning. I've just been listening in, and I think what we have been discussing over and over, it's just where you come to realize what your impact is and what you are able to contribute into this world. And I'm happy with what Paul was asking us, how many hours do we have? We all have the same time. It's what we do with the time. There's a podcast I was listening into, and I'll be able to share what I picked from there. And it was a podcast done by somebody who has been coaching most of the people who have made it in life. And my takeout point was the world, we seem to be so busy in this world. You know, there's a lot of busyness, but there's no productivity. So if you look at the time right now, it's 7:41 a.m. and I know people are thinking you should be out here by 8 to 5. You have a list of things to do. They have filled your entire notebook. You might not achieve that. The way for you to make it is to know what are the 5 things that you need to do. When 5 is just a number, you can even put them at 3. Why do you need to do them, and what will success look like? So if you're meant to do 3 things today, which is on a Monday, 24th October, then have the priority in terms of what comes first and what follows, so that you're able to follow through. If you've not achieved all of them, tomorrow when it comes from where you are, so that at least you can see there is a consistency in terms of what you are trying to achieve. And at the end of the day, you'll have been able to do what you need to do. What I've found that sometimes does not work is when you seem to be all over. You don't know which one is priority, you don't know what needs to be done, and maybe the job calls for a lot of things and things keep changing. But you need to have your priority, know what you want to do. At the end of the day, just sit back and say, what have you achieved? You'd rather have done one thing, but you have done it well, than maybe just touching on a few things and you have not delivered. Maybe Melvin, as I give it back to you, my take home, even as we begin this week, is that we all have the same time. It is what we choose to do with the time. So it calls for a lot of planning. Then it also calls for a lot of dedication. And as we have had, the weakness get eliminated, whether it's in the corporate, whether it's in sports, anything in life. If you are weak, then you get eliminated. So it's for us to be strong so that we can be able to achieve and be able to be productive at the end of the day. Back to you, Melvin.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. What I'd like to say is that I'd like to look at a Bible verse called from the book of John, chapter 9, verse 4, which says that I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. Now, this is the importance of managing your time, because a time will come when you cannot work. And my take home from Otieno Paul Peter's work today, as well as the video which I shared that you should watch on the philosophy of work, is exactly what Catherine has been saying, which is to prioritize the tasks that you have every day, and do not ignore some which are to do with your family and those people whom you have a close relationship with. So in the course of your busyness, build relationships. And one of the things that Power Monday seeks to do is to foster relationships between each of us. Now, Catherine Kiriba and myself working on a certain project together, and we first met at Power Monday. So I would encourage you, as we ponder these matters in this book called Live Your Dream, that we learn to relate with each other. Let us become more relational. Now, on that note, could I perhaps ask Elsie Kagimbi, you have been here for a while. Perhaps you can tell us what your takeout is today, and what being in Power Monday has done to date. Elsie, are you there? Can you unmute?
Yes, I'm here. My takeaway
go ahead.
today is mental fortitude. Just being strong mentally is very important if you're going to realize our dreams, whatever it is we are praying and trusting God for. For me, Power Monday has been very, very enriching. I've learned a lot as I've attended every morning whenever I had the opportunity to. And when I miss, I honestly feel like I am missing something, because it's been an enriching journey for me. The only clarification I was seeking from the author, he says that here is another thing I find worthwhile: be tough, be aggressive. And I'm wondering, should I be aggressive or should I be assertive?
Otieno Paul Peter, would you like to answer that now, or you'll answer it at the end?
Anyway, well, I hope you understand what I meant. I don't know the difference, by the way, between aggressive and assertive, but what I mean is don't be docile. Don't be somebody who anything is okay. Yes, life is just like that. Let's be people who can go for things. They say people who wait will get, but only what is left, but people who go for things. You see, so let's be people who can can go for stuff, as opposed to we are waiting for what will reach us. You see, and that is very, very fundamental. I'm actually a victim of this many times. I tend to learn even from Edna, by the way. I realized that long time ago, when we used to live in Upper Kabete, we would use matatus. We did not have any car then, and we would reach town, and I always wanted people to get in fast, but that would always make me late, and she would even go leave me. Yes, people will come, push me along, whatever, and I'm just this type of soft person who would like people to get in, and sometimes it would be raining, and everyone is craving for for the seat in the matatus. Otherwise, you wait again, you wait again. That had been a big trouble. I'm yet to reach where perhaps I can always fit in very well. But I am that type of person. So there are situations where whatever is there, you go for it. A few days ago, I was listening to some speaker I've always listened to a number of times. It's called Jack Canfield. You probably have heard of him. And he was talking of sometimes when he's giving a talk, he would remove $100 bill and raises it up. He raises it up and asks, "Who would like to take this?" And everyone would say, "Me, me, me." They raise up their hands. But then he would just keep it there. Who would like to take? But then, in the long run, somebody would wake up, rise up, and go pick it. So that is what I mean. I don't know what you'd call that, but let's be people who are not, we are not just sitting there waiting. Yeah, even that alone, we are told to keep vigil, but keep vigil doing something. I'm reminded of these 5 wise maidens and 5 foolish ones. They both waited, but others were waiting with preparedness. They went out to look for oil. These people, these other ones who are called foolish, sat there. And then when it was time, they realized, oh, we didn't even have oil for our lamps. Then they wanted these other people to give them. Yes. So let's be people who can go do something, not just docile, not just sitting there and waiting for miracles to happen. Miracles hardly happen if we don't act. Yeah, that ties into what I was talking about. The value will come in the activity. If we don't put in activity, we cannot expect much. We cannot expect much. And now that I'm with the microphone, as my friend likes to say, let me just comment on a few things again. You see, like Odhiambo Lale, after retiring or after being given retirement from where I was working, I was listening to one of a podcast he shared with me. You see, many people like him would have taken it easy, gone home, maybe start drinking something. Yeah, I worked, I did my best, and then become maybe a liability to the community. But his mental toughness refused to accept that, and he ventured into other things, including chicken. And now he enjoys life most likely much better, doing things at his own tempo. And he's got his chicken. He's still helping in the media for the organization where he is, and all sorts of things. So we can't just accept every label that the society gives us. We must choose our own label. We must choose what we want and go for it. And uh, uh, what we need to ask every time we are making a decision with our time and we have activities, because somebody said we can have a list of things. Yeah, Catherine, we can have a lot of things that we even get confused. A few things we need to ask is what will make the biggest meaning and what will make the biggest difference. If I had to do just one today, what would it be? And sometimes when we are teaching sales or something to do with customer service, we talk about it is the time spent before a customer that is most important. You realize that a salesperson will sit, plan, do all sorts of things, or which one will I call, then which one. You will go to mundane work that is, we call it the minor time. You will dwell much on the minor time as opposed to the major time. So we must allocate our timing appropriately. What is going to make the most meaning? I've met many people, by the way, who have written books, and they tell me I've written it, only that it's not physically written, it's in my mind. Yeah, I have many books here. They're waiting for some sweet hour to start writing. Yes, we will not publish our books because we are waiting for this best time. The same thing happens with, you will meet people who tell you, I really want to be in business, but then what's stopping you? I don't seem to have time. Yeah, then they wait, they retire in order to have time. You better start now. You better start with what you have. I learned something from Les Brown. He said, live and grow your wings on the way down. Live and grow your wings on the way down. Don't wait to have the wings. You will grow the wings on the way down. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Otieno Paul Peter. I'm reminded about what Chesubire said when we started. She said that she's an open book. Now, each of us is actually a book, and we can talk about time management and we can talk about mental fortitude based on our own book and our own experience. Now, each of us is in this meeting not by accident, but by design. And I want to ask Anthony Muridhi, can you please unmute and tell us what you can add from your own book or from your own experience of life to what Otieno Paul Peter has written? Anthony, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Yes, so your own story is quite remarkable. But we'd like to know what you have to add to what Otieno Paul Peter has talked about time management in particular and mental fortitude. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Melvin and the team. Well, I have a lot that I can say about time and especially the reference to my life. But I think, like Paul Peter said, we all have 24 hours. The difference is how we spend it. So what, well, like for my case, I remember there's a time I had a business idea. You know, there's this business idea you have, and you feel that let me take a bit of time. And then what happened is that you know, I said that it's not the right time. Of course, I had the resources and the ability to start the business, but you know, those sometimes those questions that you you start asking yourself. Then what I did, a few weeks later, you find somebody has started the same business, using the same idea that I had, and the business was doing pretty well. So from that time, I learned that procrastination is not the best thing. And you know that once time is gone, it's gone. Another example is when I was in high school, and not high school, but primary school. I realized, I don't know whether you have ever realized this. You know the Tetra packs, the milk we buy in Tetra packs. If you put that thing on a burning flame, I mean the milk, that paper will only burn the part that is above the level of the milk. Not the rest of the paper where there is content, it will not burn. So, and then you know, it just bumped into me. We were just playing with some trash somewhere in primary. Then I put water, and then I realized, and the flame was pretty big, and it was going even above the packet. but the part that had water did not burn, and the water boiled. So then I shared with a friend. And then there were these science congress things. And then I shared with a friend, and I just dismissed it. And then at some point I said, all right, or I can try to present this as a kind of a way of survival. When one is going out there, you don't have to carry a lot of things. The moment you have a Tetra Pak, you can boil your milk and you're home. And then to my surprise, the next science congress, somebody came with that same idea that I had shared. So sometimes those little ideas that we have, okay, sometimes we are told that we need to think logically, but also sometimes you also just need to hit it and you see what happens. So that otherwise I could share a lot about my life, but in the interest of time, allow me to share those two experiences and then take it back to you, Melvin. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Now, perhaps we could ask Liz Wanzao, can you unmute and give us your takeout from today's session?
Good morning, Melvin. Good morning, the rest. Thank you for the opportunity. My takeout today is time equals value and activity. And what activity are you having that is going to influence or even make an impact in the world? So that's my take home, that whatever activity I'm going to do today, it is based on the output, which is how am I influencing the world positively. So that's my input for today.
Okay, thank you very much, Liz. Maybe can we hear from Nancy Mora?
Good morning, Melvin.
Good morning, Nancy.
My take home today is you live and grow your wings down. Last evening, we were talking with a friend and he asked me, what is your passion? And then I told him, you tell me what is my passion. And then he told me, you know what you do is you have a lot of, how do you call that? I know it in my own language. You have a lot of nyasore. I don't know if there's somebody who can tell me what that is. You have a lot of nyasore in your head, which
Bangi.
is...
You have a lot of bangi. Oh,
yeah, bangi, which is translated to meaning postponing your own things. And then I was like, okay, all right. I have realized that within me is a lot of potential. And I think it's time that I just live and I grow my wings with the limited time that I have. Thank you. That is my take home. It's been a very good session. I think just for me, it was just for me. I don't know if there is anybody else who's felt it deeply like I have. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Melvin, let me comment on something there, if you allow. There are a few examples that Anthony Murithi gave, and I think I've written about them somewhere. And you will pick it from me if you've not heard it from anywhere else, that when an idea comes to you, that very moment, it comes to many other people at the same time. The question is, who will run with it? And you can pick from the scripture that the sower went to sow, and the seeds fell on different types of ground, others thorny, others rocky, others good soil, and there was also the path where it was picked by the birds. That's the way life works, by the way. So the question is what type of soil you are, whether you are the good soil or you are all these other ones. I've learned this along the way, that whenever an idea comes to you, you don't even affect it, somebody else will. And this is a reality of life, because ideas come from inspiration, from the origin of everything. And this is where even inventions come through. This is where all these other things come in, all these innovations you talk about. Yes. So let me give you a good story also related to that. When I was in the university in I think second year, my siblings would call me from home for maybe some support here and there. And I kept imagining that there should be a way to send money using a phone. You see, I would send, there used to be this simu ya jamii, whatever, and they would also top up people's airtime. So I would send to some friend there who would therefore translate it to money to them. And I kept imagining there should be a way to send money using a phone. I did not pursue that further, but it kept popping up in my mind. It didn't last long before M-Pesa came in. You see, around the same time, I was thinking of there should be a way. I'm a scientist. I always think of solutions. There should be a way to switch off lights remotely. Yeah, maybe you know, in our hostels, you'd realize that the switch is farther from the bed, so you must go switch off the light, and then you come back in darkness. And I was imagining, even if you had a big house, how would you know that this room, the light is still on while it should be off? And I imagined there should be something like that. Because I was supposed to do a project, I told my lecturer that I wanted to do such a project. It was a Russian lecturer. No, nobody was in my class here, I see. But we had some Russian lecturer called Zaroslav Dmitry. Dmitry told me, no, you cannot do that right now. It will take too long. It will take a lot of resources. Nobody will give you those resources. But it was still in my mind. And later, when I checked online, I realized that some people were already doing such projects and they already came up with some prototypes. And nowadays it's there. The other thing that I kept talking about was that electricity should be transmitted wirelessly. You know, I'm in the university doing physics. I said the same basic principle of science, that if energy can neither be created nor destroyed, and energy, we can have sound energy, we can have all sorts of energy, we should be able to also transmit electricity wirelessly. And many people told me that's crazy, that's not possible. In fact, electrical and electronic engineers told me that is not feasible. I told them it should be feasible from basic principles of science, basic principles of physics, and today it's happening. Now you know, if an idea comes to you to do something and you don't run with it, probably there will be some good soil somewhere and it will go with it. And you will see them going with an idea that came to your mind. If I had gone ahead to research on this M-Pesa thing, maybe I would be part of the billionaires there. Who knows? Now, another thing, I know some people will want to comment on this also. Another thing is along the way, as you've learned to make good use of your time, as a leader, you will learn to multiply your time, and so that you make use of also delegation. What you don't have to do, somebody else can do, but you will do what only you can do or what is very critical, and you let other people do some other thing, and that will make you make better use of your time. Thank you.
Musa Obuba, would you like to chime in here about you know, the process when you invented something and the time is not yet right? The people you have innovated for are not ready for your innovation. What do you do in such a situation? This typically happens at intergovernmental level and at professional level and so on. Are you there, Musa, or you dropped off?
And I'm still here, but your voice was cramped. Can you repeat that, please?
I'm saying there are times when we innovate, but the innovation is at the wrong time. In other words, the people we have innovated for are not ready for that innovation. How do we navigate such a situation?
Great question. I don't know whether I am going to repeat what others have said. Apology if I do that because I joined late. I think apology for that. But innovation, in my view, there are times when you may think that the timing is wrong, and all of a sudden you discover, like what my friend, my brother says, you may think it is a wrong time, and yet it is actually the time that everybody was waiting for. You know, there is no better time than when you come up with something that nobody has come up with. And when you do that at a time when people are yearning for a solution and you give them an option, definitely it will not be the right time for, quote unquote, the right time for others, but it will be a solution that people are waiting for. I like the examples that Paul Peter said about him thinking about the M-Pesa thing. I think he has narrated that story to me, and I said, you could have been a billionaire by now. But then, if you come up with an idea at the time when things are quite okay and everybody is doing it, then it's not going to be an innovation in itself. A classical example is, now that we are talking about innovation, a classical example is what everybody talks about now, mobile phones. And I know many of you may not understand, remember, but mobile phones were there before. Many years, can't remember the exact year, many years before. But the research took a long time before they could think about how to give the solution in a cellular concept. Now that notwithstanding, think of it in terms of what a leader needs to do or what somebody needs to do in terms of his team to do a better thing. If there is an idea that has come from at that particular moment that you want to make sure that your team does a very good job, I don't know whether you need to wait for when the environment is so good is when you start it, or you can go ahead and say, look, I'll go and venture into this and I will try it. Come what may, I will make it succeed. So the timing is actually in your fingertips. You are the one to make the time right. I beg to end there because I'm not so sure that I'm repeating what others have said. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Musa. I see that Eda has Dr. Eda has her hand up. Would you like to say something, Dr. Eda?
Yeah, I wanted to make a few comments. Like I have posted there about the definition of procrastination, which I heard and it really touched me. That was a form of self-regulated failure characterized by the irrational delay of task despite potentially negative consequences. So I think I've really been in that category. And in recent days, it's like the Holy Spirit has been speaking to me. Just yesterday when I went to see my dad, went to my dad's grave to pray, I stepped on a grave where the lady was, the person who had passed on was actually my age mate. And there's a saying that the graveyard is full of, is very, very rich. And it's full of dreams that never came to pass. And there's also a side of the cemetery, which is for children. And I've always wondered why people were taken earlier and some people have remained for longer. So there's that quadrant that we need to talk about, the quadrant of importance versus urgency. And you have things which are urgent but not important, which includes emails, phone calls, and things which can be delegated to other people to respond to. Then you have things which are not important and not urgent. And Those include time wasters, like, you know, just browsing on your phone, on social media, commenting where you don't need to comment. You know, people are obnoxious and you're still insisting on engaging toxic people. Then you have the one that is important and not urgent. And then they say that if you stay in the quadrant of important and not urgent, that is building relationships with people, especially at your place of work and with your family members, then you'll stay out of the most dangerous quadrant, which is both urgent and important, and that's a crisis. And so you prevent crisis by first building relationships, because the crisis will come when the staff members have decided they're going on strike, and your family members, you don't have a relationship with them, someone is running away from home, you know, or your children have grown up and you don't know who they are. So the most important quadrant to be in most of the time is those that are important but not urgent. And that's very difficult to identify. But once you have your vision and your personal vision and mission in place, then you'll be able to identify what's the most important thing in my life. You have very important people like Wangari Maathai, the late Professor Wangari Maathai, and Steve Jobs, who really regretted how they hadn't spent time with their families and brought up their children, or developed a spirituality to know where they were going for eternity. And so it's important to be in that quadrant. And then there was Elsie's comment about aggressiveness. You have on one side of the scale, you have passiveness, and then on the other side, you have aggressiveness. It's most important to be in the middle, which is assertive. And a passive person doesn't stand up for their rights and is always letting people walk over them. An aggressive person has no respect for other people's rights and is a bully. An assertive person respects their own rights and the rights of others. So I just wanted to make that clarification. And what else was there? Being assertive and the importance versus the urgency. Yeah, and then you talked about the sleep. It's very important that you get at least 7 hours of quality sleep, because your body won't be able to repair itself if you don't have that deep sleep. And the 8 hours that can be accounted for, because you have the 7 hours of sleep and 8 hours of working, and where do the other 9 hours come in? We need to consider self-care, and that includes, because obviously there's transport. So you may be stuck in a traffic jam. Obviously, you need to take care of yourself. You need to shower. You need to groom yourself for success. You need to eat. And you also need to have something that you enjoy doing every day for yourself. And that is not a waste of time. Like if you enjoy comedy and also talking with a friend or somebody who is a positive influence in your life. There's so many self-care routines, doing something that you actually enjoy once a day, and exercise can be also in that remaining 8 hours. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eda. We've come to the end of this session today. So I'll give Otieno Paul Peter the last word. And after that, Antonia will give us a vote of thanks and we close the meeting. Antonia, you can also pray for us when you're giving your vote of thanks. Over to you, OPP.
Thank you very much, Dr. Eda. Many people have lots of plans about themselves, about their future, but they don't start because of procrastination. The sad reality again is the time you waste today will never come again. Sometimes I look at this thing with some sadness, more so when we are crossing the year. I say this year will never come again in our lives. Never come again in our lives. The time that is gone is gone. It will never come again in our lives. So we've got to always be aware that, and I love talking about this more so when I'm telling people, when I'm talking to people about starting their business. Somebody tells you, I will start end of the year, maybe let's wait for, tell them, if you started yesterday, you'd at least gained 1 day experience. If you start today, by end of this month, you will have had at least 1 week experience. And that experience is very important. Time is always ripe to do what is right. Like Musa was commenting about the timing and technology. Time is always ripe to do what is right, as we noted there. Because if an idea has come to you, it means that is the right time to start it up. Yes, if it doesn't make sense, it will make sense along the way. If you remember about the vehicles and how they came to be, the light, all these great inventions, when they were coming up, people didn't think they were important. By the way, including the vaccine, when cowpox or chickenpox, the smallpox vaccine, the first vaccine to be implemented. The guy who was doing it, I'm forgetting his name. Many people told him it's not important anyway. But along the way, they said, well, it might be important. It might, you cannot do it. Along the way, it may not be as important even if you do it. But then it becomes important. So usually there is that stage of discouragement, that stage of it might not even help much. It is not worth it. But by the end of the day, it becomes worth it. Yeah, and this thing can be related in almost every invention that ever came. Yeah, probably people who are using horses early did not imagine that there would be need for vehicles, you see. So time is always ripe to do what is right. Now, there is also the aspect of something I've been watching. The moment people say that they are done, I've finished all I needed to do, yeah, I am empty, they usually die. So actually you get finished when you feel you are finished. So if you do not have something productive to do, that is in reference to Dr. Eda. Some people are taken early. Maybe they felt that they are done. Yeah. I saw Dr. Miles Monroe saying he's done, and by the way, he was done, and a few others. And I think I may not affirm it very confidently, but I think from my philosophy, it's likely true. The moment you feel you are done with everything you are meant to do, then you have no business being here. Jesus said, "It is finished." Yeah, and it went like that. That's the way it's been happening. Again, finishing with one statement. There is a lady who has written some book. She's a Rwandese. Anaitwa, she's called Dimitri Sisi Mukanyilira, somebody like that. She's written a book, Do Not Accept to Die. And it's based on true story of how a survivor of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda refused to die, physically and spiritually, throughout the struggles and uncertainty. People can literally refuse to die. I saw this in one movie where somebody was shot many times, even in the head, but then because he had a mission to accomplish, he literally refused to die until he finished that particular mission. It always begins and ends in the mind. Thank you very much. We can end it there.